Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Guided Creativity. This is session 3, and today we are going to be talking about something that's really exciting to me. Not only are we going to create something that is focused and usable right off the bat, and maybe even big, but we're also going to do a little exercise at the beginning to see, so you can see just how creative your mind is. So now, as always, I do not edit these podcasts, so you're going to hear things in the background like my wife going outside and, you know, a dog maybe running around when she lets them inside. Maybe a cat jumping around. We have a lot of animals. I don't know if you knew that. We have tons of living things. We love it. So expect that, just make sure you get in your creative space physically, mentally, with that paper and pencil in front of you. But before we use the paper and pencil, but it should be in front of you and your pencil should be down, right? I don't know where you might be sitting there in the chair. I want you to conjure up in your mind an image of a loved one. Just bring them to mind, their physical features. Do you see how easy that was? That's it. I mean, I asked you to create something out of nothing, and you did it. And you did. It's arguable that, yeah, Barker, but you told us what to think of. And in a way, yes, but I didn't. I didn't tell you to think of your wife, Margie. No, I told you to conjure up a loved one, and your brain did the work. That's incredible. And if you had trouble conjuring up a loved one, don't worry about that. That's not abnormal. But maybe you are better at conjuring up a memory of a loved one, or a smell, or a taste of their, a food that they cook or something. If your memory resides in a different sense, then you might be better off thinking of kind of more other specifics. But your brain is just as creative because our brains are so advanced, right? They're doing stuff all the time, right? They're being creative all the time. That's all they're being. We are limited at the end of the day only by the fences we build around ourselves. And that is the whole goal of this series, is to push beyond those fences and start just being in a constant state of perpetual creativity. So here's the exercise. Now you can, I recommend you keep the pen in front of you until you are inspired to write. Until you are inspired to write. Because I'm not going to ask you or give you any specific things to write down in this session. Instead, I am going to just kind of be talking about something or describing something. Mara, our cat, is trying to say hello to all of you. And you're just going to be writing. You're just going to write down whatever comes to mind, whatever is inspiring at the time. That is the goal. So, without further ado, I'm going to get started. I want you to answer the following questions. What is this man doing beside this burning caravan? What is this man doing beside this burning caravan? And that's it. Leaving a little bit to you. I'm drawing you a circle, and you're going to take that circle and you're going to turn it into a bigger picture. I'm telling you what to think of. You're doing the thinking. You're all going to come up with very different answers to this question. What is this man doing beside this burning caravan? Wow, and I cannot speak today, as is the case 6 out of 7 days of the week. But coffee does help. Coffee often helps with creativity, but I also advise that you find any drink that you find helps you create. What is this man doing beside this burning caravan? Now, you can write as much or as little as you want. there are these periods where I'm going to be kind of quiet and let you write. And when I am quiet, consider that kind of like some writing time or typing time if you use a computer, right? Just consider that your space to do that. I wouldn't force anything, right? Because, the goal is to wait until the glass is full before you drink it, right? You don't want to go back to the faucet 5 different times. That was a terrible analogy. It wasn't that bad. But I want you to start thinking of these other questions that I'm going to ask you too, and start writing about them as well. Who is the child waiting for him back home? And by him, I do mean the man that you just wrote about, who was next to the caravan. But now, who is the child waiting for him, that man by the caravan, back home? Who is the child waiting for him back home? Life's tough when you're a cat. Now, again, you're all going to come up with very different answers because I draw a circle for you. I used that analogy earlier. And you're all going to draw different things on top of it. You're all going to do different stuff with that information. The same way I say, think of a loved one. You all have different loved ones. And you all have different creative ways of, creating. So we've created this man, or this somewhat building story, right? This story is being put together about this man who's next to this burning caravan, and there is a child waiting for him back home. I don't know anything about those people, but you do. You do. Now, here's another question. Let's up the ante here. Let's go back to the man who's next to the caravan. When is this man going to die? When is this man going to die? Well, he's next to a burning caravan, so maybe it's entirely possible that he's in some sort of trouble or in a position where death is on the table as a result of consequences. Maybe. So is it going to be soon? Or is this guy somehow going to get out of this, or whatever you created, and die an old man? It's all up to you, and there's no limit on what you write. You write anything that comes to mind. You don't have to number these. You do what you want. I'm just talking. So, when is this man going to die? Okay. Why is this caravan transporting so many alchemical ingredients? Why is this caravan transporting so many alchemical ingredients? We're talking about things that an alchemist would use to create potions and elixirs and maybe explosives, maybe healing salves. Why is this caravan transporting so many alchemical ingredients? And I'm going to add in just a small touch question that might not apply to all of you. But are those alchemical ingredients flammable? That's what I might ask. And I think it might apply to all of you. because there's burning going on, but you might have come up with a story that expands beyond the burning caravan. Maybe they're far away from the caravan or something. But that's something to consider. Are these alchemical ingredients flammable? Why, though, are these caravans, or is this caravan transporting so many alchemical ingredients? And the last question, well, not the last question, but kind of the wrap up. If you've been listening, I've been doing who, what, why, where, and when. When will that child see that man again? When will that child see that man again? It's occurring to me, I might have missed where. I can't remember. I don't write these down. I just improvise it pretty much. But if I did miss it, which I'll find out in a minute, I would add another where. Maybe even I'll ask, where is this caravan headed? It's a very basic question, but it might be worthwhile to think about that, especially if it's transporting something strange like alchemical ingredients. And maybe that's not strange. Maybe in your world, the answer to that question is, well, because the only magic in this world is alchemical ingredients, and it's everywhere. So that's, perfectly reasonable of an answer. The goal here isn't necessarily to answer the questions, it's to inspire ideas. And I'm inspiring ideas, or trying to inspire ideas, by asking questions. So it comes off as maybe, I'll try to answer the question. But if you're ever finding yourself at a choice, well, should I answer the question that I was just focusing on, or should I write down this thing that just inspired the heck out of me? You should always write down the thing that was inspiring the heck out of you. And I recommend keeping a journal for this very thing. The last question that I will ask you is the usual question. How are you going to use this in your game? How are you going to use this all in your game? You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. Just think about it. How are you going to use this in your game? Is this going to be an adventure hook? A plot hook? Is this going to be a character background? Is this going to be a world event that's going to be remembered through the annals of history and your characters are just remembering it now? What is it? How are you going to use this in your game? Or are you just going to folder it, put it in your folder and save it for later? That's a good idea too, for certain. But these questions that I'm asking, I was just improvising them. And you might think, well, that was really helpful. It was helpful to have someone else to ask the questions, and then I just write. If only I could have someone else to ask the questions all the time. Well, you could always listen to my podcasts or watch my videos, and maybe something will inspire you there. But another thing to do is to always play the what if game, or the who, what, where, when, why, how game when you're in your car, when you're driving around, when you're at work. Like when you see someone crossing the street and they have a stroller, you can say, you can be like, okay, whose baby is that actually? Oh no, I just created drama, right? Always play the what if game, like what if they stole that baby? Or the who, what, where, when, why, and how game when you're outdoors, when you're on the road. And eventually you will be in this perpetual state of creativity. And once you find yourself in that spot, you'll find that carrying around a journal or carrying around a voice recorder, or recording your voice in your phone, you'll find that it's much easier to do that because you're more inspired to do it because you're good at it. Your brain is amazing. It's so good at this. And I hope that this exercise helped. But without further ado, I will have to see you again another day. Goodbye, fond friends. I will see you in session 4.